the top 11 right there. And the top 11 right there. Top 11 right there. Top 11 right there. Top 11 right there.
Every player, unless they're from the same household, has to bring their own tennis balls so that you don't touch other people's tennis balls with your hands. You can kick their balls, but you can't. Touch them. I'm gonna blush, sorry. Of course, if you're playing with someone in your household, you can touch those tennis balls. To avoid confusion between whose balls are whose, you can use a marker, like a Sharpie, to mark out, to put an X or put someone's initials on them. I would just say...
Griffiths Air Force Base, New York. Okay, so if this document here is not legitimate science, then they need to go refer that to the Department of Defense. Can we agree on that? Okay, good. And this is brought to you by the Photonics Directorate. Anybody know what photonics is? Huh? Directed photon energy. What's a photon? Light and EMF radiation. Yes, photons. The study of human exposure to radiofrequency microwave radiation has been the subject of widespread investigation and analysis. These conferences were the first major effort put forth by the scientific community to explore the biological effects of EMF radiation. And biological effects, listen to this. Exposure to RF microwave radiation is known to have biological effects on animals and humans, damage to major organs, disruption of important biological processes. Now, this isn't, Fukushima radiation. This is radio frequency radiation. Damage to major organs, disruption of important biological processes, and the potential risk of cancer represent the dangers of RF microwave radiation to living organisms. And it goes on to say, listen to this, pulsed radiation appears to have the greatest impact on biological materials. So that's what the cell towers are. They're pulsed radiation, ones and zeros, blasting through the air. Non-thermal responses can be less noticeable and are often more difficult to explain than thermal effects. All FCC guidelines are based on thermal effects, but here they're talking about non-thermal responses to the radiation are related to disturbances in the tissue not caused by heating, i.e. non-thermal. Electromagnetic fields can interact with the bioelectrical functions of the irradiated human tissue, right? Bioelectric, like the nervous system, causing 5G syndrome where they're like, basically twitching. So heating, you can look this article up for yourself, but we wanted to talk about where it starts going into cancer. Upon examination, okay, let's read this one. This paragraph here, 1962, this researcher reported experimental results that showed an increase in cancer among test animals. In the experiment, 100 male Swiss mice were irradiated with 10 gigahertz, right? That's 10 billion cycles per second of ones and zeros. That's quite a few ones and zeros. 10 billion per second, 10 billion pulses a second, 10 gigahertz. And at the density of 100 milliwatts, which is basically about the 10 watt per meter squared FCC standard. The mice were exposed for 4.5 minutes per day, 5 days a week for a year, right? 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week for a year. Upon examination, it was found that 35% of the mice had developed cancer of the white blood cells, leukemia, right? The disease was observed as myeloid leukemia. Okay, continuing on, the effects on chromosomes. It has been observed that disturbances in chromosome activity can cause cancerous aberrations in the human body. So they're seeing, chromosomal anomalies, mutagenic effects. This is from normal radio frequency microwave radiation, right? Not the Fukushima kind, microwave kind. Reported evidence indicates that biological interaction with EM fields can cause the formation of mutagens, mutations in the cell, and of course, cardiovascular effects, heart attacks, why not? And cardiovascular disease and cancer, effects to the central nervous system, as well as behavioral effects. It can wake you up. There's the magnetically assisted transfection. That's a whole nother field. And here's the big one. Immune effects. And we've referenced this before in other broadcasts. Exposure to RF radiation has been observed to cause physical alterations in the essential cells of the immune system and a degradation of immune system response. And this is exactly what we saw in another white paper that talked about the activation of coronaviruses using an agent to suppress the immune system. Otherwise, coronavirus remains asymptomatic or subclinical. So this actually, paints the picture quite well. And this isn't some kind of radical publication. This is the U.S. Air Force from the Photonics Directorate. And if I were to bet on something, I would bet they know what they're talking about. And so why is ABC running this kind of propaganda? And, why is, the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security getting involved, ladies and gentlemen? I think that's a nice and healthy debate. Now it's national counterterrorism. They're saying that if people want to refuse the cancer, they're terrorists. Okay? So this, again, leads us to the conclusion that the FBI, the DHS, should be basically defunded and disassembled, period. Because all they do is plant evidence, stage coups, and go after patriots and people that are just concerned about what's going on in their country. And they don't even know what terrorism means anymore because they're the terrorists. They're the ones funding these groups. They're the ones, planting the bombs at the buildings, basically. And then they're going to come and call other people terrorists. I mean, that's just, there you go. So vote Ron Johnson 2020, and we'll defund the FBI and the DHS, and we'll reinvestigate 9/11 and what happened here in 2020, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, these death towers are being burned down to the ground. And look, people that are going to do that need to take extra safety precautions. If you're going to be an activist out there, you better be careful, because now they're thinking that, they're on to something. But they're not on to anything. What they're doing is, as usual, covering up for the criminals. And that's why we're never going to get anywhere if we just hope that the FBI and the Department of Justice are going to actually do their job. They're never going to do their job. They're never going to save you. And that's why this July 4th, it has to be the Boogaloo, or this country is done forever and you're going to be a slave. You don't even want to know what's coming next. Not only from this New World Order, ladies and gentlemen, but 7 times the plagues than this one. And this plague will never go away. You will never get your lives back unless you bring back justice and the Bible to America.